Welcome to another episode of Legal for Tech, the podcast. So, guys, now you do recognize my voice. It's always Rosie here. And as I've said many times, this is just for students and young professionals who are very interested in technology and, yes, its regulation. So, today I'm joined by my colleague, friend, almost boss, Giacomo. Hi, Giacomo.
Hello, Rosie. I was just thinking about if I do recognize your voice. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a problem because I call you very often. I would
Well,
like to say, maybe too often, but today we're not here to talk about how many times I actually call you. We are here to talk about something very important that is very close to my heart, and also to someone that is super famous in my LinkedIn kind of feed. So I'm really happy to see her. Hello, Carlotta Rigotti. Welcome to Legal for Tech.
Hi, thank you very much. And I guess I will have to thank also the LinkedIn algorithm if I'm so present on your wall. But no, I'm really happy to be here, regardless of the first heat wave of 2025.
Totally
So I'm
chill.
here.
I'm super happy to see you, as I've said many times at this point. I am a huge fan, and I would like you to tell our listeners why I adore your research and yourself, of course, so much.
So perhaps because I'm Italian, like you, or perhaps it's primarily because I work on law, gender, and technology. And unfortunately, there are no many people working on these different intersections. And when I'm saying that I'm working on law, gender, and technology, is because I'm a postdoc researcher at ILO, Center for Law and Digital Technologies at Leiden University in the Netherlands, for those of you who are not based in Europe, where I am, yes, surviving amongst budget cuts in the Netherlands and worldwide, but I'm also doing research and I'm teaching. This year, I actually kicked off my course on law, gender, and technology, and it was quite an experience. I had students from all over the university. I even had a student from biology, and it was so nice to engage with young people that were enthusiastic and in need of this type of discussion. And of course, this is me now, but I actually started to work on this topic while doing a PhD on the regulation of sex robotics at Vrije Universiteit Brussels. I actually consider Brussels my second home. And before that, I did a boring slash traditional law degree in Italy while doing some exchange years in Belgium. And I mean, I can continue, but perhaps more than my life, it's way better to talk about content.
I can understand the part of the simple law course in Italy that's pretty boring because I'm still going with it. But let's talk about the topic, the key topic of today, the intersection between law, gender, violence, and the regulation of the digital space. Would you describe the artificial world as hindered of enabler of gender violence?
I mean, both. And I think this is not only my answer, is the answer of a growing body of literature. The first author that have addressed this wrote in the late 80s, early 90s, when cyberspace was launched. And there might be Donna Haraway, but there are many other authors that at first were really enthusiastic. They said, "Oh, wow, cyberspace, digital technologies, we're gonna finally fight against the patriarchy. We're gonna just remove all the gendered differences that we have." And it was great, and it might still be great, but we soon realized that that was not the case, because technology was often designed, used by men and other individuals that, let me pass the term, but embodied the privilege. And for this reason, different technologies ended up also channeling discrimination and violence against women. And I already apologize because my reply will always be really gray, but the world and our relationships are really complex.
I have to be honest, I still remember the AIPP conference of 2 years ago that they showed the bias of of this LLM. If you just simply ask, can you show me a person that has success in life? They will always be a man, starting from the man, and will be a white man. So I think it's pretty fundamental to talk about that there will be discrimination and bias also on the sexual part. But should the behavior of people online be regulated exactly as it's the real world counterpart for you?
Well, I would say no, for the simple reason that it might not be possible. Because, yes, it's true, the digital dimension could be considered a continuum of our offline life. But at the same time, new technologies amplify, create new forms of discrimination, abuse, and so forth. So it means that the law should be reflective of these nuances. And this is also why most of the time we cannot really apply law by analogies, but we need to adopt new ones. And there's always often this call for future-proof laws, because we also know that it takes time to adopt new laws, and technology evolves really quickly.
Well, you did say like it is difficult to get law at the same pace of technology, but the issue here, I think, is also to find out whether there's something wrong with technology while law keeps up with its pace. And then my question, I know it's very broad to ask. However, the question is technology inherently sexist, in your opinion?
Well, no, technology embeds sexism because consciously or unconsciously, the people, as I said, that develop it or use it perpetuate sexism or more broadly, social inequalities. So this is a human product, is not that the technology is neutral per se.
Just a question, how can we avoid this kind of bias while we are building technology?
This is a 1 million euro or whatever currency you want to choose question. So I think there are like different ways of contributing to the mitigation of these biases. And just for clarity, it's impossible to eliminate them. And I think the first one is just to raise awareness, train and educate people, because we still lack knowledge about diversity within society and also intersectionality. So, for instance, to address gender based discrimination and violence that is facilitated, amplified, and generated by AI systems, we don't. We cannot think of women as an heterogeneous category, because each woman will be different. We will experience different types of oppression and subordination, because, for instance, I can self-identify as white, young, Mediterranean, and so forth. But other people might have different experience and my different forms of subordination and oppression via technologies.
Just a quick question on this point. There are various versions of the telling, the recounting of history. There are some scholars that prefer the idea that history is made up by events, by societies, by changes in society. And then there are other historians that believe that history is made up by people. And in technology, let's say that the history of technology is characterized by, yes, the people that use it, so the societies, us, but at the same time is also by the developers, people like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, just to cite a couple, although Sam Bankman-Friedman is not exactly an angel himself, nor is Sam Altman. Do you think that the bias in technology, the bias you were describing, is more ascribable to society or to these individuals?
I mean, I think both. Let's say that sometimes it's the consequence might be different, or like also perhaps the responsibility might differ. Because of course, if you are at the top of one of the so-called big tech, your decision will be, yeah, I mean, will have far-reaching consequences. While if you are a single user, I'm not saying that you should do it, you should not, but of course the power that you have at your disposal is different. And the fact that perhaps the fact that you share non-consensual sexual imagery might have a cascading effects because of the technology that you are using. So yeah.
Having laid out a bit of the theoretical basis for our analysis, let's talk about your recent publication, The Regulation of Sex Robots, Gender and Sexuality in the Era of Artificial Intelligence. What's the main argument in the book, and how do you propose this thesis?
Yeah, so this book actually draws on my PhD thesis. So the research question, which is perhaps also the main argument, is pretty similar and is the search for a legitimate regulation of sex robots, drawing on the lessons learned on the regulation of pornography and prostitution across Europe and beyond. And what I'm trying to do is to actually show how we could come up with legislation that does not try to crystallize, impose socially constructed visions of gender and sexuality, and actually be more sensitive and responsive to diverse experiences of gender and sexuality.
I just have a question because it's something that is strange for me. If you can just give us an example, what do we mean with sex robot?
Yeah, no. So it's not science fiction. And actually, like, if I'm gonna give you my answer, but if you're gonna ask this question to other people that write on this topic, I bet that they're gonna give you a different answer. But for me, sex robots are human like machines that are programmed to deceivably perform sexually and emotionally. And I think that this definition is broad enough also to be reflective of different motivation and experiences of people that produce technology, but also use the technology.
So we are not talking about something that belongs to a fantastic world, but to our real world, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In terms of the physicality of sex robots, they need to be physical as opposed to something like, for example, partnerships, chatbots such as Replica. Is that correct?
So, in my opinion, yes, I decided to distinguish, let's say, embodied sex robots from other chatbots with whom you might still have some sex related conversation or form emotional attachment, because I think that this embodied nature makes the human machine interaction peculiar, and it was important to acknowledge this.
In terms of the legislation that you explore in the book, what is your primary concern when it comes to human rights, for example? Like, do you focus more on the rights of the partner of the robot, or do you focus, for example, on the rights of society when things like this are released into public for commercial reasons?
So I try to find a balance, let's say, to equally consider both the protection of gender equality and the promotion of sexual autonomy. And the reason behind this choice was twofold. So, on the one hand, when I started working on this topic, the campaign against sex robots was launched, and this campaign was trying to prohibit this technology, no room for discussion. And it was doing this on behalf of gender equality protection. On the other hand, I also think that such prohibitionist approach was not really effective and also, let's say, respectful of diverse expression of sexuality. And so for this reason, I also decided to look at the other, let's say, side of the conversation and look at the protection of sexual autonomy. And this is also why I first analyze criminal law and to what extent criminalization is legitimate. And in doing so, I could analyze all those legal theory that boring courses from a university equipped me with. And then looked at alternative measures to actually protect gender equality and promote sexual autonomy. And in the book, in my PhD, it was more linked to ethics, but with the AI Act, I could not avoid doing it. And so I also analyzed the AI Act in the book.
A sex robot ideally would probably tell its partner, and I will use the it here, that they feel exactly like a woman would feel or a man. It depends on, obviously, what your decision, what your choice is. Isn't that manipulative by definition, thus against the AA Act?
So we don't know. We don't know because, of course, it will depend on the specific prototypes that the user will interact with. So because we don't have also many information of the specific technical details of the sex robots that are available on the market in the EU, but beyond the EU, I'm actually waiting to see to what extent the AI Act will apply. So what I actually did in my book was to, let's say, theoretically explore to what extent the AI Act could apply to different imaginative prototypes. And so, yeah, of course, like manipulation, deception will be something to examine, but we don't know yet to what extent.
When we talk about gender violence in general in criminal law and in other areas of broader areas of law, because it's obviously it's a multi-topic problem, we can talk about kind of working on the positive affirmation of women, gender equality in society, how some specific institutions may be changed to include women more, to ensure that they are protected. When you talk about technology, there's a lot of conversation that kind of ends up in talking about design. So do your rules also take into account specific designs that these robots could be mandated onto having, so that they protect the concept of gender equality much more than, I don't know, I mean, you can't mandate people to be designed a specific way.
No, definitely. Like it's definitely a possible way forward. And this is not only something that I have said, but also other colleagues claim. The problem is that at the moment, the market is extremely, let's say, sexist. It reproduces a stereotypical understanding of womanhood. but there might be other possibilities. There might be other way of designing this technology. The market is just not targets a different demand, and it's something that we have also seen, and it has been a success in other fields of the sex industry. So look, for instance, at sex toys, all the emerging of alternative narratives within the pornography industry. So it is possible.
Can I ask you, what are the key limitation and challenge that you have encountered in the process of writing the book?
So because I'm also a human being, I would say first time,
Yeah.
because when you write a book, you do another million of things. And this is what you usually are paid for. So the book is on top of that. And also time in the sense that the more you write and the more you work on these topics, the more you grow as a scholar. And so perhaps I could start writing this book tomorrow and I would write it in a completely different way, because perhaps like my ideas change, my reasoning becomes more nuanced and so forth. And this is also linked to self-confidence, because when you write and you publish, you make yourself vulnerable to criticism, positive and negative. I'm incredibly shy, so for me it's really like sometimes tough to put myself under the spotlight, although I know that it's important. And so I think that those are the main challenges. Having said that, as I also said at the beginning, this is a new field. So sometimes it's also complex for you to be taken seriously. And I'm not joking when I say that it took me nearly 3 years to find well-known scholars that really believed in my work and didn't question it, especially coming from a legal department, a law department, which is known to be extremely traditional and sometimes not really prone to interdisciplinary works.
Wow, this was potentially one of the most honest answers that we've received on this podcast. So if we could give an award, it would definitely be up there. Let's tell all of our listeners, of course, this is my job by definition. Like our last question, usually, they know it, they will know it, is that we ask for suggestions on what to read, follow, listen to, watch in order to understand this topic better. But what better summer read if not the book itself, the one that you've written, of which I'm just going to repeat the title just so that they know where to find it. It's The Regulation of Sex Robots, Gender and Sexuality in the Era of Artificial Intelligence. That said, do you have any further suggestions? Or probably just tell us if you're writing another book, huh?
So no, I'm not writing another book. I think I will still need time to like cope with with this writing process. But no, so I think that the first title that I would recommend, and I think it's a book that is extremely powerful but also accessible. So it's a great summer reading, is Invisible Women by Criado Perez. I think she did a great job to raise awareness about different types of biases, also sometimes beyond technology. Then about podcasts, for instance, there is this journal which is called About Gender. It's an Italian journal that has just launched a podcast, which unfortunately is in Italian. But I think it does a great job in, again, raise awareness about really basic concept, like what is gender identity, what is sexual violence against women. And so I also recommend it to friends of mine that teach in high school, saying, oh, perhaps this is interesting for your students. And I think, yeah, those are the main suggestions I have. But if you have any other channel, I'm happy to provide long list of other friends or people that I just admire.
Well, our listeners and friends and community are always happy to read anything we basically put out. So whatever you want to communicate, they will definitely find it on our page, as they will find the link to the book that you have written and any link about whatever suggestion that you've given, so that it's much easier for them, especially if they're Italian, to follow up with all of these incredible ideas and this very, very important topic. So that said, this was a huge pleasure, especially for a woman like me. Thank you so much, Carlotta Rigotti, for joining us today. This was an honor on our side.
Thank you very much for having me. And enjoy the summer.
Thank you. This was all from Legal for Tech, the podcast.
Bye.